to Leicester. Now he is getting some for a college, and they will be available. And we will now be relying on volunteers to gather this information, as I said, using GPS devices. I brought a couple along, and I can loan them to people if they want to participate. They look like watches. Actually, they will record all your journeys and all the GPS locations. And what we want people to do is to go out with these. We've got sheets on how you can activate them. If you're a cyclist or a keen walker, you can map your routes with them. So we want to use affordable mapping technologies and to work eventually with these maps will be available on smartphones as you're cycling. And they will be the kind of matrix on top of which we lay artworks. So it's about public collaboration, and this database will be unique to Leicester. We did get given a cycling map from Leicester City Council, and it proved A, too big to put on a mobile, and B, the information was too generic. We want much more specific information. So we want people to record landmarks on routes, road conditions, this kind of thing, so that we can find our way about. And one of the benign aspects of this project is to reduce CO2. If we can get people out of cars in Leicester and onto bikes, we will make a huge difference. In fact, in 2001, only 680,000 people cycled to work in England. That's only 3% of people in employment. That's a terrible figure, really. And Leicester is flat. We don't really have any hills here. I live in Bristol, which is all hills, and there are far more people cycle. And cycling only accounts for 0.6% of the total distance travelled in a year by people, which I think is tragic. And that has been a figure that's been falling over recent years. So we do need to remedy that. A lot of people in Leicester live within 2 miles of the city and still take their cars to come in, which is bonkers. But they do it because I think the roads are not really encouraging cyclists, and because drivers in Leicester don't have any good habits around bicycles. You know, even if you're on a cycle lane, people tend to ignore you. So I think it is safety that's the primary fear that's stopping people cycling. If we can use local knowledge for safe routes, then we can actually reverse that position. So it has a really strong and benign purpose. 60% of commuting, in fact, in Leicester is by car from places that are within 2 miles of the centre of the city. I mean, you can walk 2 miles in about 40 minutes at a reasonable pace. And it doesn't rain here that much. You're on the East Coast, really. So, this is really innovative in the sense that it's trying to use what we call folksonomies to develop a wiki-based map system and use a mobile audience to take this information and also to entertain that audience while they're engaged in their walks or their cycle routes. We've already had something developed for Nokias. We've now got pervasive media researchers at the IOCT. Sean is one of those, and he'll be showing you stuff that we're doing a bit later on. We've got 50 of these GPS recorders to loan to people, and we will be getting some cameras, because one of the ideas is that you collate the information on your camera with that on the GPS device. So as long as the date is set accurately on your camera and the date is set accurately on your GPS device, we can correlate the two things together. So you can upload your photos to Flickr. As long as you tag them Songlines, we can later bring them onto the maps and collate the two online. So your photos and the location at which they were taken will appear together. And we'll find other ways you can augment your route. Now, there's been a lot of work done online about cycling routes, and I'm going to show you some of that, because although this stuff is out there, it's not very usable, and it's certainly not very usable on mobile phones, not in the way that we want to use it. One of the things about online wiki maps at the moment is that they're very badly designed, and so you get a plethora of information, too much information to assimilate, and it's not what you need at the time. Holland has been a leader really in cycling, and that's mainly because everyone's on their bikes and it's very easy to get around Holland on a bike. And they've done these kind of maps where people can tag their routes, but again it's not configured to work on mobiles, and it's quite clunky to use. So we have been looking at this. Germany, again, very keen on doing this, and here you can see they've actually started putting photos with routes. Again, not really designed for mobile phones. And Belgium, which again is pretty flat, it's completely mapped with cycle routes, absolutely covered in them. And I quite like this, which is a Dutch one, where you can tag different bits of the route with features. And we're going to do something similar, but with images. Here you've got windmill symbols, water, locks, cows. So find a cow. I think they tend to move about, so that might be a mistake. There are cycle maps for your mobile phone, but you pay for them. This one is for London, from the A to Z people. Again, you can see that there is a huge amount of information on there that you certainly can't assimilate when you're cycling along. So there is a whole kind of design problem here with how you get these maps to really work for people. And there are things like Every Trail, which are much more about touring cycling. This one is in Terra del Fuego, but I rather like the fact that you could get the image up next to the point on the map that it corresponds to, and you can actually find your way around the landscape. A bit like Street View. And this is Bike Map Net for England. You will notice that no one has put any routes in Leicester. So it's a blank. So we have an opportunity. And again, although this will lay out routes and tell you their distance and their climb, it doesn't give you much more information than that. So there are other alternatives. We could put a TomTom on a bike, but they're quite expensive and actually quite distracting, and you don't really want that voice saying, "Turn left at the next light." You can get these iPhone holders for your bike. They've actually sold out online, but they're only a £5, so that's quite a good one. And Nokia have been quite good leaders in GPS guides, and they've finally come up with a free one when you buy your Nokia, which works just like your GPS on a car. So fine, but it only gives us half our project. It doesn't give you the opportunity to put this augmented information about the journey that we want. Same with the iPhone, although we are going to develop an app for the iPhone that will do what we do want it to do. And Google have finally brought out bike maps that you can download, which will work only on the Android at the moment. And one of the problems with certainly iPhones on bikes is that the battery goes after half an hour when you're using GPS. But someone has come up with a £12 solution for this, a plug-in battery. So people are grappling with these problems all the time. And this is a thing that you can find online called Wikimapia, which allows you to annotate maps. But we don't feel that this open source software is adequate for our purposes. So although there's a lot of stuff out there, it doesn't do what we want it to do.